I was a battalion chief back in 2001, off duty, fortunately at home, and when I became aware of what was going on, I responded down to the World Trade Center. In my private car, I got to my firehouse and it certainly picked up all my gear. There were instructions there to go to the division, which I did, and eventually a group of us ended up down at the World Trade Center, where I sort of just stepped in, sort of performed my normal duties as a battalion chief, sort of in an unnormal operation, supervised different groups of men, different groups of firefighters, you know, attempting to rescue people or attempting to, at one point, Captain J. Jonas and his crew were trapped. We were trying to find them. We were unsuccessful, but another group was. Looking for civilians, trying to account for firefighters. We didn't do much firefighting, although some of that was going on as well. So it was pretty arduous, a little bit different than I normally do, but my role was basically still supervision. Well, the first day I was there for about 12 or 14 hours. I forget what time I got there in the morning. It was before the last building fell down, and I left. Gosh, if I remember correctly, it was 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that, or 4 o'clock in the morning the following morning. We had to hitch a ride back to the firehouse in an ambulance. There was really nothing set up yet for transporting people, but it seemed like quite a long time. We ended up having a modified system of people coming to work. At first, everybody was called in, and we stayed in the firehouse 24/7 for a few days, and then it went on to, I think, 24 on, 24 off for a while, and then it was a day and a half on, and so eventually they lingered it. I was in there for the first week, just about every day the first week, maybe for half a day, and then I came back to the firehouse and settled in there for a while, and then we went on routines of, they called them details. You'd be at the World Trade Center for a 2-week detail. You'd work your regular shifts there on a 2-week detail. I did that several times, and actually I ended up being detailed to the Rescue Battalion, which is a citywide rescue operations battalion. 3 of the 4 chiefs were killed there, and I ended up being asked to replace one of them temporarily until they got that restaffed. So I worked, I believe it was a 90-day stint there, where I worked every time I worked at the World Trade Center for about 90 days. Yeah. Well, one of the things that would have made a difference, one of the big things is communication, which is radios. We certainly, and that's been handled well. The FDNY jumped right on that afterwards. We have a whole new radio system in place with radios that have better frequency, better technical ability to reach each other. Some of the folks on 9/11, you know, didn't hear the call to evacuate or to leave the building, and they've tried to handle that in a couple of different ways that worked really well. Another thing that they did is they organized a new recall system. In other words, how you call people in off duty if you have something of that gigantic size occur. We have a much more exact system where your phone rings at home and they call you by name, where they need you, if they need you, and where they want you to go and what they want you to bring with you, what gear or what meeting place, which works out really well. A lot of guys just sort of, some of the guys that died responded in right from their firehouse, and we didn't even know they were dead for days because we didn't realize they had come back to duty, you know. So I think that would help. And a number of other, you know, our command center at headquarters really was, we really didn't have a command center at headquarters that day. Everybody was at the scene. That's why a lot of our senior people were lost. I think if we have something of that size, again, you'll have a lot of the big chiefs at headquarters running it from a remote location, and then some of the other senior chiefs at the scene. Of course, you do need them at the scene, but you don't need them all. So much happened. So many things were done. So many changes were made. I still think a lot of things were done wonderfully and with great intention, although some of the results were not wonderful. It was an out of control, immense situation that we had little chance of correcting. In spite of that, certainly that communication element is big. If we can have just a little bit better direct control over people at the scene of a fire and emergency of that magnitude, I think it helps you control too many people in one spot or too many people, you know, not responding or whatever that negative thing could be. So communications is one of the big things, and command, maybe having a little bit better command structure at the scene. Again, I hesitate to be too critical because in spite of the fact that we had a disastrous event occur there, I think for what we brought to the scene and for the situation that we were faced, I think we handled it very well.